Hello YouTube. Yesterday I posted a video of me installing a debloated version of Windows 11 on my personal laptop computer. I know I'm kind of late to the party, but it was my first ever installation of Windows 11 on my own device. And I had removed a lot of the objectionable bloatware and spyware. For example, I disabled the TPM and the hardware checkup. I bypassed making a Microsoft account because I don't want one. I got rid of the Edge browser. I disabled BitLocker encryption. I removed OneDrive and Recall and Copilot and a lot of the bloatware apps that come packaged with Windows. I just kept a few of the ones that I like to use. Today, I'm going to install Linux Mint Cinnamon alongside Windows 11. And I chose Mint Cinnamon just because it's very popular for new users, for beginners. It offers a very Windows-like experience. It has Cinnamon has a very familiar desktop feel to it with icons and a taskbar and so on. And I'm going to install them on the same drive. If you're going to do this, if you're going to dual boot Windows and Linux, I strongly recommend that you install Windows first and then install Linux second. If you try to do it the other way around, if you install Linux first and then try to install Windows, Windows has a habit of reformatting the EFI partition, and it'll make your Linux unbootable. So Windows won't play nice with Linux, but Linux will play nice with Windows. Of course. I mean, what else would you expect from Microsoft? So anyway, that's what I did. I installed Windows first, and I installed Linux second. And the way that works out is when you first start the computer, it will give you a few seconds to choose which operating system you want. It'll give like a text boot screen, and you can choose with your arrow keys if you want to boot into Linux or Windows. So let's get started on that project. All right, first things first, we need a Linux Mint installation media. So I'm going to create that. Let's go to the Linux Mint website, and the distribution I'm going to choose is just regular Linux Mint Cinnamon, because it's popular and it's user-friendly. You need to download the ISO file. There are many servers available. I'm in the USA, so I'm going to choose a USA server. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. Just pick one. I'll try Clarkston University. All right, and it wants to save it to my downloads folder. That's fine. I'm doing this on a Linux machine, but you can do it just as easily on a Windows machine. And there is my ISO. It's downloading. If you do this on a Windows machine, then I recommend either Balena Etcher as your burning software, or else another one is called Rufus. So either Rufus or Balena Etcher. They both work. But I'm going to do this on a Linux machine. All right, so my ISO is downloaded. It's all done. And now I have to burn it onto a empty USB stick. So where is my ISO file? It's on here somewhere. There it is, Linux Mint 22.1. So it's saved successfully. And then there is my blank USB stick. I just named it Mint. There's nothing on it. So when you do this, the ISO file is going to overwrite your USB stick, so make sure it doesn't have anything important on it. For my burning software, I'll just use the MX USB maker. I'll select my ISO file from the downloads folder, which is Linux Mint 22.1. And that should be it. Yeah, there's my USB stick. Next. Yes. Put in my top secret password, and it's burning the stick, or it's preparing the Linux installation media. All right, big edit there. We're all done because it took a few minutes actually. Now let us study that installation media. There it is. My USB device is now a Linux installation medium. All right, now let's install Mint from our newly created USB media. I'll just plug it into a USB port, and I gotta boot the computer from that USB stick. So on this particular machine, it's F12, the F12 function key. So I'll spam that thing. On your computer, it might be something else. There we go. And it's that bottom one, the USB hard disk drive. And there it is, Start Linux Mint 22.1. And this could take a while. Give it a few minutes. Don't be discouraged, because it might take some time to boot from a USB stick. All right, we have a desktop, finally. Now this is an application on the stick called Gparted. It's a partition manager. So let's have a look at our partitions real quick. So there it is. This is how Linux sees that 1 terabyte solid state drive. There's the EFI boot partition at the beginning, 500 megabytes. That is some super secret partition that Windows put on there. That's probably where all the spyware is. Don't mess with it. There is my Windows partition, about 150 gigabytes from the shrink action earlier. There is my great big Linux partition, because I plan to use Linux more than Windows. And then there is my Windows recovery partition on the end, which I'll probably never use. So anyway, that's where I'm going to install Linux, is on that great big partition. So just double click on Install Linux Mint and be patient with it. I'm going to choose English because I'm in the US. Continue. Yes, English. Install multimedia codecs. Yes, I strongly recommend it. And you can let the installer do the driving, or you can manage it yourself. I want to manage it myself. I want to control how it installs. So I'm going to click something else, continue. And here's kind of a diagram of the partitions again. So the bootloader will be on the only hard drive I've got, that ADATA 1 terabyte SSD, so you don't need to mess with that. I'm looking for that big partition I made. Where is it? There it is. There's my free space, my big fat Linux partition. So if I click the plus sign, it'll give me some choices. Yeah, ext4. There's different file systems, but the default one is ext4, and that works fine. I am going to create a swap space. If you don't know what swap is, don't worry about it. Just make some swap. So I'll go to swap area, and I'm going to make it twice as big as my my RAM. I got 12 gigs of RAM, so I'm going to do 24 gigs of swap space. All right, so now I've created my swap partition. I've still got a lot of free space. There's my new swap partition. So go to the free space, click plus again. ext4 is the default. That's as good as any, so just leave it there. For the mount point, just use the backslash, or it won't work. So backslash. And then OK. So now I think I've done everything I need to do. So install now. It's going to give you a warning. Just click continue. And if I did this correctly, it will not harm my Windows installation. So it will be able to, Linux will be able to coexist on the disk with Windows. We shall see. Yeah, that's my time zone. I'm in Central Time. I got to give it a name and a password. I'm not going to encrypt my home folder. Although you can, it works fine, but I'm not going to do it on this install. Continue. And it will install. It takes a little while. It'll take, I don't know, several minutes. All right. We're all done. Let's restart the machine. And when you restart, take out your installation media. Pull out the stick. You don't want it to boot from the USB stick again. So when I reboot, what do we get? All right, I'll have a few seconds to choose what I want to boot into. It's a text screen. So let's see if Windows has survived this. Is Windows okay? Is Windows 11 still intact? Yes, it is. There's my Windows 11. It doesn't appear to be broken so far. So Windows 11 survived the shrinking process and the Linux install. And what does it think of this new disk partition setup? There it is. It just calls it a healthy primary partition. Windows can't recognize the ext4 file system. So it just calls it a healthy partition. All right, let's get out of that and see if Linux will boot. And there is Linux Mint Cinnamon at the top. And it's starting up also. Cool. And here's my login screen. Boom, there it is. So now we have a dual bootable Windows 11 that's been debloated and Mint Cinnamon that doesn't really need debloating. It doesn't have a bunch of spyware and bloatware in it. This concludes my demo of my debloated first ever Windows 11 install with most of the Microsoft junk taken out of it, and dual booting it with Linux Mint Cinnamon. And it worked out pretty well. It's not that hard to do. I've been doing the dual boot thing since 2018, and it's never failed. I've never had a corrupted disk or anything like that. So if you're curious about Linux and you're not quite ready to cut the cord with Windows 11, the dual booting thing is a decent strategy. So thanks for watching, and have a better one.